last Thursday night, the Beatles were in town and packed our show out there with about over 14,000 children, a great majority being girls. Now, these are the youngsters from the better homes, because the underprivileged cannot afford $5 a seat, and the reservations were made last April. Some of the parents were there, most of them were not. The youngsters came there to see the Beatles. Now, this court is not a prude, and we know that each teenage group wants to produce its own music, its own dancing, its own heroes. Our own folks, we remember the days of the other heroes who were before us. But the question is, can you take 14,000 children and pack them in to one stadium? And they know they're coming there to get hysterical. And the whole show was based upon producing hysteria, the preliminary acts as well as the Beatles. And then these girls went into a coma. They ranted, they fainted, their eyes were glassy. Some pulled their hair out, some tore their dresses. They threw notes of a very undesirable nature on the stage. Some girls, after the performance, kissed the stage, and some went up and kissed the very seats in which the Beatles had sat. And with this, one father brought a child who was epileptic, and the child had an epileptic fit. And some of the parents took their children home before the show was over because it was, as some people say, unbelievable. Now, what is the juvenile court to do with this? We don't expect to see girls or boys come in here from that show because of something wrong they did. But that show has sown certain seeds in these youngsters. And the seeds could be of a physical nature where they could be impaired with it, could be of a mental situation, girls going out on dates, their misconception of what this whole problem is about. And there's so many other factors that come into this that we in the juvenile court have to try to prevent anything of a nature that's going to cause trouble. I think we can all agree that the show was not good, and if it's not good, why must we have it? Why must some parents be there to witness this thing and regret it, and why must other parents let children go to a place where if they would have seen the show, they would not have permitted? I believe that a dictionary definition of a Beatle is a bug. And of course, the bug also means being crazy. And I don't think the Beatles are bugs. They've done very well. They've made a fortune off of this whole hysteria created by the media of communication and other means, and the children were conformists, and they fit right in this. It became very stylish to get tickets for the show, and if you didn't see the Beatles, you were not in style. I realize that. But I think the parents are bugs to let their children go to a production like this kind, not knowing what it was like, or if they did know what it was like, to expect their child to have such a horrible result placed on them. One newspaper said that the girls stripped off the veneer of civilization. I don't know if I would go that far, but if you could see how uncontrollable they were, the glassy eyes, the physical and mental condition, you would agree that the show was not.
No other event had a greater effect on modern popular culture than Beatlemania. It permeated every level of society on a global scale. The Fab Four were demigods to an entire generation. It has been 30 years since the Beatles first burst upon the popular music scene, but nothing, it seems, can diminish our fascination with them. They revolutionized the dress, hairstyles, attitudes, and beliefs of an entire generation. And their impact on the lives of fans born even after they disbanded is powerful as well. Unlike almost anyone else who made their mark as popular entertainers, the Beatles were unique in their ability to so accurately funnel their life experience into both their music and engaging public statements. As armchair philosophers, the Fab Four weren't bad, honestly shoveling their hard-won perceptions year after year into everything they did. In comparison to today's self-involved crop of empty-headed crooners, John, Paul, George, and even Ringo have generally had something interesting to say. As George Harrison once commented when asked why the so-called current potentate pop stars didn't really impart too much of importance in their music anymore, he reeled off, "Because they don't know anything, do they?" Apart from the marvelous music, the boys had quite a lot of interest to say as well. Remember John's headline-grabbing bet-ins? Paul's public statements on the relative merits of all natural LSD, or George's stint as the materially exhausted wannabe Hare Krishna? All things considered, the Beatles were really quite wonderful geezers, rank amateurs as aspiring gods, but insightful musicians with open hearts and minds to match. Here then is an evening's worth of entertainment of the really fine things the Beatles and their friends have had to say over the last 30 years on such varied subjects as God, drugs, music, their acrimonious breakup, and even themselves. This collection of interviews with the Fabs and their mate is the end result of years of peeking in on the Beatles' turbulent lives through any window I could find.
May we please now have quiet before we start the questioning? Now, may I ask you all to please keep the noise right down, or else everybody in the room has got to hear the questions, and the only way they're going to do it is if you are all quiet. Can we have the first question then, please? Right.
It doesn't matter. I like to come back as a tree. Does it? Well, I would, you know.
Yep. Yes?
We can't play it. We can't play it.
I mean, we don't really want to, you know, we want to play our stuff.
Yes?
You're on the air, lady.
Will you make films alone individually? Will each of you make films alone individually, like John has just been offered a part alone in a film for the first time?
Yeah, that's it. You just repeat it.
Yeah, but it's still not going to help, actually, because we've still got too much noise in the room, actually. I mean, the question is that John is making a solo film. Will each of the other Beatles follow suit and make solo films, right?
It depends if anybody asks us to do something, and if we think it's worth doing, and if we'd like to do it. You know, there's a possibility.
Next question, please.
You get
Yes?
a few offers from Walt Disney now.
Yeah.
This business with your remarks, you came to a reflection on the subject so much. You figured big tempest over nothing, or a lot of foolishness?
Well, it's not over nothing now, because it is something. But there weren't as many people upset as I was led to believe. I'm not so seriously upset.
You figure that this is one of the reasons you haven't been drawing as well on this trip?
Nothing to do with it.
Pardon?
I don't think it's anything to do with it. I don't think we're drawing any less than we expected, whether this had started or not.
Yes.
Not really.
Gentlemen, care to comment on the fact that the Ku Klux Klan is going to Pikachu tonight?
Well, you know, there's nothing to say about them.
John, are you writing a book of children's stories?
I've thought about it, you know, but they don't always turn out like children's stories, you see. So when I've got enough that are like children's stories, I'll stick them together, and the other ones won't be for children.
Are they the same style?
I suppose so. I can't do it any other way so far.
Yes?
Mr. Lennon, have you met James Joyce?
Yes, since.
Mr. Lennon, what do you think of the remark that people have been saying that you made the remark about Jesus to get publicity for your night?
Well, that is one of the most stupid versions of it. Because I mean, that's not a publicity stunt at all. Yeah. They don't need that publicity. Not like that.
Can I add to that article was originally published in England last March, so it's nothing to do with the, pre-tour. Yes.
I would like to ask Mr. McCartney, I understand that they have set aside some time during this American tour for a vacation. What are your plans for that?
I didn't know we had actually, but
you got 4 days off.
Well, just sit around and swim and sit around.
What would be your favorite part of the country in which to take off?
Well, I think we'll be in Los Angeles for it, and that's nice and sunny.
Gentlemen, where's the idea of the Yellow Submarine come from?
What do you say?
There he is.
I don't know, I was going to sleep one night and I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a children's song like the children's songs you used to have, which
in
you
the
don't
old
get.
days.
Like sort
And
of
it was nice.
And that is John in the background. That you
Barking, that's
John
me, yes.
Barking, yeah. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yes.
What do you think of Prime Minister Wilson's stabilization policy?
What policy?
Don't think much of it, but good luck to him if he can do it.
What policy?
I would like to ask
Stabilisation of the pound policy.
Mr. Harrison, we have seen some trends in your music, especially since the sitar, to get away from the usual sounds in beat music. Do you see a trend in the whole field of beat music, and if so, which way is this trend going?
Well, I don't know. It depends on the people making the music. I can only talk for myself, and myself is very interested in Indian music, and I'd like to continue learning it and using it in our music.
Well, I've tried singing some of my stories, but it doesn't work. I've thought of it, it might work one day. But I tried it, somebody said that, so I went home and sang a bit of the book, and it's soft.
There was a Time magazine wrote some sinister meaning into the song Norwegian Wood. If you could tell me what you had in mind when you wrote it.
Exactly what it says in the lyrics, which is nothing.
Gentlemen, would you consider going to entertain American troops in Vietnam?
I wouldn't like to go near Vietnam, actually.
Do you think you're largely responsible for London being late?
It's nothing to do with us.
Very bad.
John, on August the 23rd, this is your 70th anniversary.
Is it? Thanks.
You're also appearing at Shea Stadium then. How do you feel about appearing with your wife?
Well, I mean, anniversary is just another day, really,
Yes.
I'd like to put the same question to President George. How do you feel about being away from radio so much?
Well, you just get used to it, don't you?
Sure. Kid out.
If I'd like to ask Paul, if you were surprised when the album covers were today and yesterday, which was wrong in America.
No, I don't know. We just did that photograph because we had a photographic session, and the photographer said, "Put this meat on you," and we just sat there and he photographed us, and they said, "Well, that'll do for the American album cover." So we didn't complain, and then everyone else complained. So we said, "Terrible idea."
We didn't like it enough to support it.
If it had been a better photograph of the same subject, we might have stuck up for it. But it was a lousy photograph anyway, really, and the photographer knows it too, so he won't be hurt,
That wasn't your idea.
No,
No,
it wasn't a very good one.
We just go along with things.
A bit unsubtle.
How'd you do with that minor automobile accident?
Fine, thanks. How's yours? All right, good.
The Associated Press yesterday
found a story from the Vatican saying that the official Vatican newspaper defended your statement. Have you seen it?
I've seen a similar version to what you're talking about in a paper. Well, if it makes other people feel better, it'll make me feel better.
Good, thank you.
Double think.
To anyone, are you going to do a tour of England this year?
Probably, yes. I'm sorry, Ringo, you're going to speak.
No, he spoke.
I'll just take the poses.
Because it revolves.
We all hope you'll be around for a while, but what happens when the Beatles are no longer the Beatles, John?
We'll just be four people. A bit strange, but you know.
Any plans to work or just retire?
Well, this is work, isn't it?
I mean, after this is over.
Yeah, we'll do something.
We'll work together musically, at least, probably, for quite a bit.
Got to do something.
I'd like to direct a question here to John and Paul. Have you ever thought of writing for a musical, Broadway musical?
We thought about it.
And if you did, what type of subject?
All Broadway musicals are the same, especially the baritones.
Forward, John. Now, come on, George, come on.
Well, I wouldn't allow them to write a Broadway musical.
No, I don't think we've thought about it. We've never got down to it.
The only thing is, if we did...
No, we probably would never get that. I don't know. I don't fancy it anyway.
No, if we did one, we'd try and... The only thing is, it's difficult trying to think of something that isn't 50 years out of date, like most of the others.
What type of subject?
Go on.
Sorry? Well, you know, a song like Hello Dolly could have been, even though it was good, nothing against it. It could have been a hit 50 years ago. You know, it was in the 50 years ago style. And it's 50? Yeah, I think so. And it's a bit silly making musicals of that era now. It should be up to date.
Gentlemen, what have you found to be the biggest drawback in being the Beatles? Hacking or the...
Interpretations of what you say. Really. I don't know, it just came into my head.
Yes. Ringo lost weight, and have you been sick in the last week?
I'm fine. No, I'm, same old 2 stone 5. No, I'm just fine. I'm just resting.
In the song Eleanor Rigby, there's a verse that speaks about Priest Father Mackenzie. I would like to ask Paul and John together, they wrote the song. It says, Father Mackenzie is writing a sermon that no one will hear. Does this have any meaning? Does it mean that God is dead? What did you have in mind when you wrote it?
It just means what it says, it's a story. When somebody else makes up a story, nobody goes into it and says, he's against everything in the world. If you make up a story, it's just a story. But when you write a song, it seems to take on a different meaning. Anyway, that was just a story, that's all. And it means he's not a very successful vicar, Yes.
John, what do you think about Dylan?
I think he's good.
You said that after the downfall, you're looking for different people. Do you consider yourself now individual people or just four people?
They always have,
We'd never believed the myth of the Beatles as being like 4 little puppets. No, we don't believe that. So, we'll just be the same people as we've always been. That's all.
I have read conflicting reports about your next movie, and you might have answered it earlier, but I didn't get you well at first. Do you still want to do a Western?
No, that's out. It's been out a long time. That's nothing to do with it. It was just this. We just suddenly decided it was the wrong way, going the wrong way in films, doing a big Western. No, same category, really. Possibly.
An epic. Yes, the Bible.
A number of our readers would like to know that of all the people you have met over the years, royalty, other singers, other singing groups, fans, or just men in the street, whom would you like as a group best?
Who would you like in the war?
Oh, it's a hard one, isn't it? We met a lot of people,
Reporters.
Many
prominent church leaders saying the church is an institution, an organization that's going to die or to completely change. Is this the type of thing you had in mind, or do you think this is going to happen?
I think it ought to happen, or it should happen, or it will change the wrong way for them.
What?
Well, you know...
It should happen.
It should happen, it should change, you know.
But it changes.
And it's good that they've noticed.
I'd like to take the last three questions. First one.
In England, is there much of a camaraderie between you and the other popular singers? And do you ever get together with other groups and discuss music?
Yes, there's quite a lot, you know. There's no reason for us to hate other groups or be jealous of other groups in the same way from their side of it, you know. So we all get on very well. No one's jealous. We all sell records. Yeah, we talk about it.
Will you incorporate more and more ethnic sounds into your music, such as Israeli, Russian, Greek, Irish?
No, we're not running around looking for sort of little ethnic things from different countries to bring into the music. We just happened across Indian music accidentally, as it were, you know, and that we took an interest in it. But it's possible, you know, but we haven't thought of that.
Yes.
Recently, have you seriously considered breaking up?
That's what you mean by breaking up. You know, we haven't actually thought, you know, the time has come for us to break up, but we've realised the possibility of, you know, our breaking up as an actual sort of natural progression. Because we can't go on forever like this, so we've got to think now and prepare for, you know, if it did happen. Which it should, you know. It's got to sometime.
Realistically, then you are considering an actual progression.
Yeah, how long it'll take,
we
nobody
can't
knows.
consider it any other way, because it's not going to go any other way. It's going to progress and just end up as something. And you know, we think about it now so that we're not at a loss when it does happen.
John, when did you begin filming your new picture?
Pardon?
When did you begin filming the picture you're going to
4 days after I get home from this tour. I don't know.
September the 5th.
September the 5th.
Yeah,
Gentlemen, other than John Lennon, do you think Mr. Lennon's religious comment had anything to do with your audience attendance?
No.
I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what he thinks about religion or what any of us thinks, really, to us. It happens to matter to other people, you know, and we've learned that bit.
The audiences are not little, you know. I don't know what papers you're reading, but, you know, ask the promoters what tickets are selling. The audiences are big and fine enough for us.
This must be the last question, please.
Question for Ringo. After naming your first son Zach, what name would you like to come up for a second son?
Well, I don't know.
Vim.
I don't know, you know. I haven't thought of it. Maybe a girl.
Zacharine.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
First question for John, from Charles Wilkinson, Hamilton Spectator, religion editor. This tremendous enthusiasm of youth, if it were channeled into good causes, could have a tremendous effect. How about the Beatles starting a Feed the World's Hungry Fund through the United Nations?
Well, you know, it's an idea. You can't just say yes or no now.
Sure. And the second positive question, what are some of the positive elements of Christianity at its best that you feel you can support?
The basic ideas of Christianity, and
Yes.
support that.
Would you recommend the young people?
I'd recommend them for anybody, old people as well, you know. Especially, yeah.
Mr. Lennon, is there any connection?
I'm sorry, may I ask again, please, that they keep the noise right down, or otherwise most people who want to hear the questions won't do so. They'll hear the answer to the question. Can we please have complete quiet?
Is there any connection between the Lonely People and Eleanor Rigby and your recent attempt to formulate a position on religion?
Well, there's a connection in as much, it's sort of, you know, you've connected it, that's all. And it just happened at the same time over here, but Eleanor Rigby came after that article. The article's got a few months old, and Eleanor Rigby came a couple of months later.
What's the significance of the white wall?
Oh, I just opened this parcel and it was in it. I don't think it's significant.
It's got a lot of charm.
I don't think so. No. I just
he doesn't think it's significant.
Sure, it's significant. Sure, it's significant. Huh?
Yes. Mr. Lennon, you consciously put a message in your songs as a sort of crusade, or do you just write songs that you think you like because young people will like them?
I don't know, you know. I don't write them for other people, really. They're only for other people after they're finished. If they like them or not, then, you know. When I write them or we write them, you know, it's got to be for yourself.
Yes.
Beatles in general, you seem a very healthy bunch. You rarely cancel due to illness.
I told you we will.
Yeah, we're very healthy.
Well, George and I were disputing it. He's thinking we're unhealthy, and I was saying we are healthy, you know. Or they wouldn't let us make films. Thanks anyway.
Oh, those are the PA?
Isn't this? No, that's radio.
No, thanks.
Like that? These? Not these. All right, Tony.
Next question, please.
This question's for John. John, what question do you dislike being asked the most?
At the moment, the one they're all asking when we first get in about the statement I made.
Would you tell us about that?
Well, you listen. Well, I mean, you ask me what you want to know about it, and I'll tell you, and I'm not just going to go over it and over it.
This has been asked before. What did you really say? Was this taken out of context?
The words themselves weren't out of context because they were from an article. The article was out of context because it wasn't. It was taken from the paper and from England. You know, that's how it was out of context.
You feel this has hurt your image in any way?
Pardon?
You feel this has hurt your image in any way?
No.
It's been straightened out.
With a few people, you know, but I don't think I mind about them somehow.
George, I think the business of John's statement has been cleared up pretty well. I'd like to ask you what you think is really important in life. I tend to agree that probably the Beatles are more popular, if popularity is the gauge, than Jesus. But is popularity the most important thing? What is the most important thing in life?
Love.
Love is the main thing, I'd say. But I mean, there's lots of things in Christianity that are so right, which all the people who set about us after the comment was made, they don't really sort of keep up with what they're supposed to believe in. I mean, first of all, love thy neighbour like thyself. Well, I mean, they tended to hate a bit more, didn't they? The people who disliked us. Well, for a kick-off, that's not a Christian answer to whatever Lennon said.
Lennon?
And John, may I ask you, what is it, in your estimation, that can and does really inspire young people today?
I don't know, honestly. You know, I just know that what we're doing inspires them to a degree, but not to inspire them to do anything else other than enjoy themselves.
Well, what you do excites them and makes them enjoy themselves.
Yeah,
what about inspiring them?
They get inspired by people who talk honestly to them, and not people who take the long way around and talk in riddles. So I think, you know, if they believe us on some things, it's because we can say it like they would think it, because we know we're exactly the same. We don't pretend to be anything better than we are, you know.
Do you always play it straight, Ringo?
No.
Thanks very much.
Well, don't you think that it seems to me that, well, and you too,
okay.
It's the grown-ups that are small-minded about all these things. The children don't seem to be at all. And the complaints, the children go home to their parents, and they don't believe any of this, but the parents are telling them that they should do. And this is where the big mistake is made. It's the parents leading them the wrong way.
Well, you know, there's a gap between the generations that's very hard to fill, because I don't think most children think of their parents as human beings till the children themselves are about 16, 17, you know. And they suddenly realise, maybe older, suddenly realise that they're just people like them and not sort of great big people to be feared. You know, that's the gap that should be healed.
Thank you, sir.
Not at all.
I'd like to address this to anyone who cares to answer. What are the Beatles going to do about their diminishing popularity?
What diminishing? Well, for a start, there's no signs, as far as we're concerned, of it diminishing. Our records and our shows are still selling as well as ever.
You're finished, George. You're finished.
It's only really your opinion. And if our popularity does diminish, well, we'll be the last to worry.
Hooray!
Mr. Lennon and Mr. McCartney primarily, with the background instrumentalization for Eleanor Rigby, aren't you really heading into something very new? Or
very old.
Violins are old.
What's happening to pop music now, going back to the old?
It's not.
It's progressing, you know.
You know, it's progressing because it's having new things with the old instead of just the old on its own or just the new. It's combining them. You know, it's taking bits from everything and being, I don't know, liberal.
You ever see yourself going electronic?
Yes, I mean, you know, we could go anything.
But not totally.
Oh, I could.
To the four of you, would you like to sometime visit Russia and other Iron Curtain countries?
As Beatles or as people?
Both.
Yes, wouldn't mind.
What kind of reception do you think you'd get from A, the people, and B, the officials?
From the people, it'd be okay. I don't know about the officials. I think it'd be okay now. Okay now.
John, are you going to have a hand in writing your next movie?
I don't think so. I hope not. You know. I'd sooner somebody else wrote it. I don't know how to do it.
When is it coming out, do you know?
I don't know when it's starting even. It'll probably be January, February.
Gentlemen, you received the medals for assisting the British economy a couple of years ago. The economy's in kind of rough shape now.
And we're still assisting it now.
Anything to give it a fresh boost? Any plans to give it?
Well, we could give them the medals back. Oh, it's very friendly here. I think I'll relax.
Might be take it up.
When they fix you some things on the stage, are you waiting on that?
You worry about your eyes mainly, you know, because little things you can't see. Oh, it doesn't. It's only for him, that one.
John, I don't want to get too tangled in politics, but I read that you weren't very excited about the situation in Vietnam. I would be interested in knowing what your opinion, or any of the Beatles' opinion, is about the question of the United States involvement in Vietnam, and whether or not you see this as a possibility of a world confrontation with China, and whether you think it's dangerous, and whether you think it's important for people to become informed and concerned about this issue.
Yes.
That's not.
We all just don't agree with war for any reason whatsoever. There's no reason on earth why anybody should kill anybody else.
But will you know?
Unless
Why don't you say? Why don't you come out and
the main thing is
because somebody will shoot us for saying it. That's why.
You know, America is in there, and the only thing is that, as somebody once said, "Thou shalt not kill" means that not amend Section A. And there's a lot of people who are amending Section A and who are killing. And it's up to them to sort themselves out.
But we can't say things like that.
We're not allowed to have opinions. You might have noticed,
Thank you. Continuing in that line, what do you think of the youthful Americans who are coming across the border into Canada to escape the draft? Are you in favor of the draft, military discipline for the young generation?
I think anybody who doesn't feel like fighting or feels that the fighting is wrong, there's a right not to go in the army, because nobody can force you into going and killing someone.
Hear, hear.
Well, they do.
Shouldn't be able to, really.
Oh, we've had it in Memphis now.
And John, regarding the writing ability, have you ever thought of writing a musical such as My Fair Lady?
Nothing like that, anyway.
And why don't you write one?
We thought about writing a musical, but not like My Fair Lady, because if we did one like, there are people around who can write that kind of musical better than we can, because they were doing that 50 years ago, you know. And the only thing is that if we tried to write a musical, we'll try to write one with up-to-date tunes and an up-to-date musical, but it's difficult to think of what to do, because everyone seems to go to 50-year-old ones. Well, you know, that kind of sort of era. Thank you.
Writing Eleanor Rigby and Yellow Submarine, are you trying to establish any sort of a trend in music, like away from rock?
No, I don't think we ever try to establish trends. You know, we try to keep moving forward and do something different. And if in the meantime it starts trends, well, you know, that's okay. But we never try consciously to start them.
Certainly original.
Thank you.
Can I take the last 3 questions, first of all?
Can I ask Paul, either my imagination or your voice, doing a less physical effort on the stage now in your performance?
I don't know, probably, you know. I mean, you manage to sort out after a few years just how much jumping around will produce just how much sweat, perspiration.
I really meant, you know... Well, everything's possible, you know. There's no answer to that. We're obviously not going to go around holding hands forever. We've got to split up or progress. I mean, we might, you know, it might happen, you know. It's quite possible.
This one is for Ringo. All of us ride so much in your lives, and you're limited. Your actions are limited so much by public demand and riots and mobs of that nature. What normal everyday things would you like to do that you cannot because of pain?
Well, the thing is, is this on? Or is this on? Hello. When we're off, you know, I live quite normally. But it's only on tour it's ever like this, and we're always in hotels and that. But when we're off, I'm just like you know.
It's one of those.
Gentlemen, have you given any thought to when your popularity might end? And if so, do you think you'll be around in another 10 years' time?
We'll be.
Why not?
You know, I mean, the only reason we won't be around is we'll be dead. But as Beatles, you know, we could be around. We could be around still doing the same thing as we're doing now, only with it having developed a bit. But you know, it'll be a bit embarrassing, you know, at 35. That's all.
Long tall Sally.
I've gotten about 10 variations to the story on how you should do to get the record straight.
It was Christmas, and I'd had a few drinks, and I went for a ride on a moped, and I was watching the moon, and I fell off.
Last question. This question is for Ringo. Ringo, you must get frightened sometimes at all these youngsters screaming so loud. If you do, when is the time, or what city was this most happened at?
The screaming never frightened you. It's just when they start to break and try and get on stage.
At what point, at what tour, have you been the most worried about maybe being attacked?
Cleveland, I think.
Cleveland. On the current tour this year?
Yeah. Was it Cleveland?
Sure.
Yeah. They broke through there, you know. That was the only one.
Is that it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll give them to him. We'll fetch him all.
All the same, the Beatles had been worried about their Memphis date. In their dressing room, I talked to them about it.
What difference has all this row made to this tour, do you think? Any at all? Paul?
I don't think it's made much difference. It's made it more hectic. It's made all the press conferences mean a bit more. People said to us, you know, last time we came, all our answers were a bit flippant.
And I said, why isn't it this time? Well, the thing is, the questions are a bit more serious this time. It hasn't affected any of the bookings. The bookings have been, the people coming to the concerts have been the same, except for the first show in Memphis, which was a bit down, but so what?
The disc jockey, Tommy Charles, who started this row off, has said that he won't play your records until you've grown up a little. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't mind if he never plays them again.
You see, this is the thing, everyone seems to think that when they hear us say things like this, that we're so childish, you can't say things like that unless you're a silly little child.
And if he was grown up, he wouldn't have done the thing, because he only did it for a stunt anyway. So, who's he to say about growing up? Who is he?
Who is this guy?
Who is he? Apart from that, it's great.
Having a swinging tour?
Do you feel that Americans are out to get you, that this is all developing into something of a witch hunt?
No, we thought it might be that kind of thing. I think a lot of people in England did, because there's this thing about, when America gets violent, gets very hung up on a thing, it tends to have this sort of Ku Klux Klan thing around it.
It seems to me you've always been successful because you've been outspoken, direct and forthright and all this sort of thing. Does it seem a bit hard to you that people are now knocking you for this very thing?
Yes, Richard. It seems hard, free speech.
But is it possible just to say what you think all the time? What about 14-year-old teenagers who think you're absolutely marvellous and can't bear to be heard?
See, we're not, when we say anything like that, we don't say it older people seem to think to be offensive. We mean it helpfully, and if it's wrong, what we say, okay, it's wrong, and people can say, you're wrong about that one. But in many cases, we believe it's right, we're quite serious about it.
But do you mind being asked questions, for example, in America, people keep asking questions about Vietnam. Does this seem useful?
Well, I don't know, if you can say that war's no good and a few people believe you, then it may be good, I don't know. You can't say too much, though, that's the trouble.
It seems a bit silly to be in America and for none of them to mention Vietnam as if nothing was happening.
But why should they ask you about it? You're successful.
Yeah, that's right, that is why they do.
Because Americans always ask showbiz people what they think about it. So do the British, Showbiz, you know how it is. But you've just got to, you can't just keep quiet about anything that's going on in the world unless you're a monk. Sorry, monks, I didn't mean it. I meant actually. It doesn't matter about people not liking our records or not liking the way we look. Or what we say. They're entitled to not like us. We're entitled not to have anything to do with them if we don't want to, or not to regard them. We've all got our rights, Harold.
Well, somebody's given us an idea and he's working on the script. And if the script's nice, then we may do it.
One question we like in Hollywood, like to know how you compare movie working to, say, the concert tour or recording sessions. Amount of work and stuff like that.
Well, we don't compare it much,
Would you rather play the Hollywood Bowl again than Dodger Stadium?
We don't really mind.
One of your countrymen was here yesterday or the day before he returned to Ames, or on his arrival in England. He said he thought American women were out of style for not wearing miniskirts, and that because they didn't wear miniskirts, their legs were ugly. I'd like to ask you what you think about American women's legs.
Well, if they don't wear miniskirts, how does he know their legs are ugly?
On your album cover that was banned, whose idea was it? And
the photographers who took it.
And what was was there any meaning behind it?
This religious issue is answered once and for all. Would you clarify and repeat the answer that you gave in Chicago?
I can't repeat it again because I don't know what I said,
Well, would you clarify the remarks that were attributed to you?
You tell me what you think I meant, and I'll tell you whether I agree or...
Concerning the remark that you made, comparing the relative popularity of the Beatles with Jesus Christ, and that the Beatles were more popular. This created quite a controversy and a furor in this country, as you are obviously aware.
Do you know that, John? You created it.
Now, would you clarify the remark?
Well, I've clarified it about 800 times, I could have said TV or something else, and that's as clear as it can be. I just use Beatles because I know about them a bit more than TV. I could have said any number of things. Wouldn't have got as much publicity, though.
My question is directed at all of you. Do you think this controversy has hurt your careers or has helped you professionally? Obviously, you're quite aware of it.
It hasn't helped, though.
hindered it, I don't think. I think most sensible people took it for what it was, and it was only the bigots that took it up and thought it was, on their side. They thought, haha, here's something to get them for. But when they read it, they saw that, there was nothing wrong with it, really. It's just that they thought that by John saying that we were more popular than Jesus, they thought, he's bound to be arrogant. And did you see the fellow on telly last night? He said it.
I'd like to direct this question to Messrs. Lennon and McCartney. In a recent article, Time magazine put down pop music, and they referred to Day Tripper as being about a prostitute, and Norwegian Wood as being about a lesbian. Now, I just wanted to know what your intent was when you wrote it, and what your feeling is about the Time magazine criticism of the music that is being written today.
We were just trying to write songs about prostitutes and lesbians, that's all.
Fred Paul from KASK. First of all, I'd like to say hi to you all again. It's really good to see you. And so, I'd like to ask a question that you've never been asked before. What are you going to do when the bubble bursts?
That's a personal in-joke. He used to ask it at every press conference we went to keep the party going.
Outside in Hollywood tonight, you had to arrive in an armored truck, and the truck was swarmed by adoring fans. What is the situation wherever you go? Do you ever have an opportunity to walk out in the street without being recognized, or can you walk into a theater to see a movie by yourself?
If you go when the lights are down, you can go in.
We can do that in England. It's easier in England than it is here. And it's mainly because we know England better.
It'd also be easier to do it if we were on tour, Because we're on tour, people know where we are, that's why we have a crowd.
Yes, I'm wearing
Paul,
sorry.
many of the top artists and musicians in the pop field today, I said the Beatles have been a major influence in their music. Are there any other artists who have an important influence on you, the music you create?
Oh yes, nearly everyone. We pinch as much from other people as they pinch from us.
May I ask about the song Eleanor Rigby? What was the motivation or inspiration for that?
2 queers.
John, did you ever...
2 barrow boys.
Oh, this is getting disgusting. What?
John, did you ever meet Cass from the Mamas and Papas?
Yes, and she's great. I'm seeing her tonight.
Good.
Yes, she's good.
Have you ever trained or used Beatle doubles as decoys?
No. We tried to get Brian Epstein to do it. He wouldn't do it.
Ringo, one question. How much did you contribute to What Goes On? And are you contributing to any other Lennon-McCartney compositions?
Well, 5 words to What Goes On, and I haven't done a thing since.
I'd like to address this to John and Paul. You write a lot of stuff that other people steal from you and also purchase from you in different arrangements, Ella Fitzgerald and a lot of these Boston Pops and stuff like that. When you listen to this on the radio or records and stuff, how do you feel about them using your pieces and changing them around to suit their styles?
Depends how they do it,
The thing is, they don't steal it.
No, I know that.
Well, you just said they did.
Well, sometimes.
Okay. No, it's, once we've done a song and it's published, anyone can do it. So, whether we like it or not depends on whether they've done it to our taste.
Well, then let's ask it this way. Who do you think does it the best, the Beatles songs?
Us.
Who?
I'd like to direct this question to George Harrison, if I may.
What's your address?
George, before you left England, you made a statement that you were going now to America to be beaten up by Americans. Do you mean to say in so many words that you feel that the American fan is more a hostile fan?
No, not at all.
Or a more enthusiastic?
Actually, I said that when we arrived back from Manila. They said, what are you going to do next? And I said, we're going to rest up before we go and get beaten up over there. Merely beaten up is just... really, we just get sort of shoved around a bit. Jostled around in cars and planes, so, you know, that's all it is.
Well, do you think that's more an enthusiastic fan than a hostile fan, would you say?
I think there's definitely more enthusiastic fans.
But if anyone beat us up, it's not the fans, is it?
Yeah, the fan thing, I think they proved it themselves, you know, after this. We found out that there are a lot of fans who are great, and all the ones we lost, I think, we don't really mind anyway, because if they can't make up their minds, who needs them?
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the image scrimmage, and I'll direct this to anybody. How has your image changed since '63? Is it a little more? Is it the same?
An image is how you see us, so you know you can only answer that.
You're the only one that knows. Who's that? Oh, you. Oh, well, no, I want to get your opinion. Is it a little tarnished now? Is it more realistic, or what would you say it is? I know, I have my opinion,
We haven't
but...
got any tags for our opinion.
We can't tell you our image, you know. We can only... Our image is what we read in the newspapers, and that's the same as you read, you know. I mean, we know our real image, which is nothing like our image. Forget it. And what I meant to say was... take 2 bricks.
Who is the young man with the lengthy haircut to your right rear?
Right rear.
It's good old Dane, isn't it?
Where is he?
Who is it? Dave from the Burn, a mate of ours. Your hoy mateys.
Shy.
Do you ever plan to record in the United States, and why haven't you yet?
We tried, actually, but it was a financial matter. Bit of trouble over that one. No, we tried, but didn't come up.
Politics.
Hush, hush.
Dice.
No comment.
Mr. Lennon, is it true you're planning to give up music for a career in the field of comparative religion?
No. Is that another of the jokes going on?
I'm sure you've all heard of the many Beatle burnings and Beatle bonfires, and I was wondering, do you think American girls are fickle?
All girls are fickle.
Well, the photos we saw of them were a sort of middle-aged DJs and 12-year-olds burning a pile of LP covers.
This question is directed to Paul and John. You have written quite a few numbers for Peter and Gordon, and I understand they don't like it because they think that it's you writing the song that makes it popular. Do you plan to write any more songs for them?
They, you know, if we write songs for, they ask us to write songs for them if we do it. I mean, they don't mind it. They like it, but it's... People come up and say, we see you just getting in on the Lennon-McCartney bandwagon. That's why they did that one with our names not on it, woman. Because everyone sort of thinks that's the reason they get hits. It's not true, really.
Gentlemen, what do you think would happen to you four if you came to an appearance without the armored truck and without police?
We'd get in a lot easier.
We wouldn't make it. We couldn't do it.
It depends, you know. Sometimes we could have easily made it much better without the armored truck. But today, probably we wouldn't.
You think you'd be physically harmed?
Oh, yeah, probably.
What do you think?
Yes, I think so.
Could be.
I want to make these the last 3 questions.
John, I was wondering, under what condition did you write "in his own right"? That sort of wild, those kicky words. I mean, how did you, piece them together?
I don't know.
And do you have any more books coming?
Yes, and I can't answer that. You know, it's just the way it happened.
Any more books coming?
I didn't think that, how can I do this?
Sit down and become an author.
Just like an author.
John.
I hope so, you know.
Is this the last question? Are all of your news conferences like this?
No.
Well,
that's not the last.
I'm talking about all of the reporters or would-be reporters or semi-reporters that show up. Are you besieged by these kind of people throughout the tours that you travel here in the United States?
You can't always tell the would-be's from the real thing. So
is it this way when you travel in Europe?
Yes.
But what's wrong with the crowd?
Nothing. I'm just wondering if you have this many reporters everywhere you go.
Not always. But
some of them are just onlookers.
On tomorrow.
This is the last question. Okay.
All right, Tomorrow Never Comes is the last cut on the second side, right?
Tomorrow Never Knows.
Tomorrow Never Knows, thank you. Could you give me a vague idea of some of the tape manipulation you use when your voice drops into the track, John? Is that sung backwards by any chance and then recorded forward?
No, it's not sung backwards. It's just recorded pretty straight. You know, there's nothing really. There's tape loops on it, which are a bit different, and the words are from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So there, nearly.
John's Uncle Charlie Lennon is a caring, compassionate friend of Beatle fans everywhere, always ready to sit down with Beatle people and talk about the good old days with his brother Fred and young John. He is that rarest of all creatures in the phenomenal world of Beatledom, a genuine eyewitness to the formation of a legend. Here he sings an original ballad beckoning back to the first bygone days of Beatlemania in Liverpool.
The ships of the Mersey that sailed away from the shores, they have been and gone and left us, never to return no more. Oh, come back to the Mersey, to the sounds of twist and shout. We'll keep the welcome here on Merseyside, of that there is no doubt. The live bird is silent, it's got nothing to shout about. It's seen as ships come in each day, and it's seen them all go out. But now those days are over, they were the scenes of the past. Now all the live bird hears these days is the chimes of the live clock.
Geoffrey Giuliano is the author of some 30 internationally best-selling books on the Beatles, John Lennon, and other iconic musicians of the 1960s. In 2006, his book, Paint It Black, The Murder of Brian Jones, was made into a film by Stephen Woolley and Nick Powell entitled Stoned, The Wild and Wicked World of Brian Jones. It remains a cult classic and the only film bio of the Rolling Stones. Giuliano is also a veteran journalist, having written for dozens of high-profile newspapers and magazines, including The Sunday People, The Daily Mail, The News of the World, The Mail on Sunday, Playgirl, and Rolling Stone. A noted film actor, Giuliano starred in such movies as Vikingdom, Scorpion King 3, Jules Verne's The Mysterious Island, The Fifth Execution, Far Cry 3, Fire Fire Desire, among many. In addition, he hosted the long-running North American syndicated radio series, Geoffrey Giuliano's Roots of Rock, for 5 years, as well as pioneering the audiobook industry in the 1990s by authoring, narrating, and producing over 250 original, non-book-based, interview-driven productions. Giuliano's publishers included Random House, HarperCollins, Delta Entertainment, Durkin Hayes, Playaway Audio, Speechworks, and B&B Audio, among dozens more internationally. In 1998, Random House acquired his firm Tribute Audio, for which Giuliano acted as CEO and publisher for 5 years. His best-selling audiobook, That Fateful Night, True Stories of Titanic Survivors in Their Own Words, was nominated for a Grammy. In 2014, Geoffrey Giuliano founded Icon Editions and G2 Media Arts to market his updated works as well as publish new projects. As a visual artist, Geoffrey has been showing in galleries across America since 1977, garnering impressive reviews. His first professional assignment was designing several T-shirts for The Who's Pete Townsend in 1976. Geoffrey also designed and illustrated many of his original rock biographies for the biggest publishers in the world from 1984 to 2006, as well as designing for his pioneering record label, Samba Records, in the mid-1990s. From 2006 to 2011, Geoffrey was also the primary designer for the French fashion house Cotai. When Giuliano first conceived of creating his own literary imprint, Icon Editions, he became responsible for illustrating and designing 35 book covers, several hundred CDs, DVDs, as well as dozens of promotional posters, and eventually an entire collection of exclusive fashion and art. The expansive Design by Giuliano brand grew out of Geoffrey's impressive commitment to the arts and is the culmination of a lifetime's work by an extraordinarily talented and determined Renaissance man.